Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Let's give this maybe a minute or two. See if anybody comes in today to my live. Um, I am going to finish reading some more from this book. Um, and I'm going to try to do a live every Tuesday, but there may be some Tuesdays where I don't do a live because there's appointments or whatever, or things are happening, or I will try to bring a tip. I'm going to be starting working through some of these tips that is in here on this. So been a minute, almost a minute. Nobody's jumped in, so let me start reading some of these tips. And these are from a 1957 Your Household Guide. This is what this is from. I will read probably a couple pages of it. Okay. Parboil potatoes and pour water off when escalloping raw potatoes and they will not curdle. Add a teaspoon of sugar to each quart of water when boiling corn on the cob. This improves flavor. Now, I've heard of that one. I've not done it personally, but I've heard of sprinkling sugar, putting a little bit of sugar in with your corn to make it have a better flavor in your boiling water. Sprinkling salt into the water in which you are washing fresh veggies will bring any worms or insects to the surface and make the task easier. Well, that would be a good idea because I'm fixing on making some things with green tomatoes. I have tons of green tomatoes. It was supposed to have a deep freeze. Um, Next week, Halloween type thing, going to be deep freeze. So there's a lot of things I got to do in the garden to do that. Before attempting to peel sweet potatoes, grease the palms of your hands with butter or shortening. Then, when task is done, wash hands in warm soapy water and sticky substance will come off with no trouble. Huh, I would think the knife would slip out of your hand, but that's just me. Slice and peel pounds of onions without a tear. Slice them first with the heavy blade of a chef's knife, then just slip off the skin. I've never done that, and I do always, biggest part of the time, have crying. Cut your potato chips thinner, easier, and more uniform with a kraut cutter. Now, I've never heard of a kraut cutter, unless it's your grater. That might be um using, because your grater, at least my grater, the box grater, does have like a slicer on it on one side. That might be a good idea. Make your own potato chips. They'll probably be healthier for you for sure. To easily separate a head lettuce, a tight head of lettuce can be easily separated without breaking the leaves by cutting a sufficient of the stem to loosen some of the leaves. Then cut the end of the lettuce under running water, and the water will run in between each leaf and separate it. Then remove another piece of stem and continue until all leaves are separated. So basically, cut your stem of your head lettuce and then it'll separate. Celery can be kept a week or longer by first rolling it up in brown paper, then in a towel, and keep it in a dark, cool place. Put in cool water to crisp before using. I've noticed when you buy celery, it don't last very long anymore. Sweet potatoes will not turn dark if put in salted water immediately after peeling, using 5 teaspoons of salt to a quart of water. I didn't even notice that sweet potatoes turned dark, but I don't usually peel a lot of sweet potatoes. Um, but I'm thinking more going to more cooking from scratch more and trying to get away from those preserved. preservatives, which is hard to do sometimes. Chop cabbage fine and let stand in ice water a few minutes to crisp. Which I'm going to be planning on cutting some cabbage, making some pickle lily maybe. The best way to get corn stalks off the cob is with a stiff vegetable brush. You prep buttered corn, saute a bit of green pepper in butter before adding corn. Huh, that one's a good one. If you keep the candles for the birthday cake in the icebox for a day before using, they will burn slowly and evenly. We've always kept our birthday cakes when I was growing up in the icebox. Fresh tomatoes will keep longer if placed with stems down. So when you're getting your tomatoes, turn it upside down. Okay. When canning beets, never pour cold water over the beets till cool. Let cool in a kettle without water saves the color. Hot milk added to potatoes when mashing them will keep them from being soggy or heavy. Now, I've never done that, but I have poured milk and I don't think my mashed potatoes are heavy. A few spoonfuls of vinegar added to water in which beets are boiled will hasten their cooking. Now, do have another book similar to this about vinegar. So I may grab that one and do a Tip Tuesday using vinegar after this one is done, of course. Hominy made from popcorn is much nicer than that made from field corn. Well, I know from watching P. Allen Smith on the PBS shows that hominy uses certain corn. One corn is better. I don't remember the kind, the name of the corn that was better that the lady said, but she showed us exactly how to make hominy. It was very interesting. To dry lettuce, put it with crumpled paper toweling. It absorbs water quickly and does not bruise the leaves. Lettuce for salad should be well dried and cold. Um, that was way before salad spinners were invented. To have good popping corn ready, place the corn in a jar or can with a spool that has been soaked in salt water overnight and seal or keep can covered. The dampness from the spool affords the needed moisture for the popcorn. Didn't know popcorn needed moisture. Turn on the cold water faucet full blast when you drain your cooked potatoes. It dispels the steam immediately. I've always heard, and we've all, since I've been married anyway, that when you drain your potatoes that you have boiled to make mashed potatoes or stewed potatoes, you drain your water and you run running water in your sink so it won't mess with your drain. If you get too much salt in your potatoes, simply add a little sugar, and to modify the sweetness of something, add a little salt. That's kind of weird. You add salt to get, that is weird. If you get too much salt in your potatoes, simply add a little sugar. And to modify the sweetness of something, add a little salt. That's very interesting. As soon as potatoes are finished baking, prick them with a fork so the steam will escape and prevent the potatoes from getting soggy. Soak potatoes in salt water for 20 minutes before baking them and they will bake more rapidly. Never salt turnips while they're cooking. It extracts their sweetness and puts them in the cow feed class. Always add boiling water to boiling vegetables, as cold water will toughen. Chewing gum while peeling onions helps to prevent tears. I need to try that one. Chew my gum so I prevent my tears. Cooked onions will stay perfectly whole if you poke a hole through the center of each one with a metal skewer before cooking. Try adding consomme to pot roast instead of the usual water. The gravy will be delicious. Um, Anytime I have a pot roast, I usually add the dry onion mixture, which I do make some my own now. Which I'm gonna have to share that recipe with y'all. If your gravy does not brown, add a little coffee. It will not taste of coffee. I'm gonna have to try that. I'm gonna have to try that. Add a little coffee to your gravy so it's brown. Okay. So these next ones are hints on baking that is in this little booklet. So, when baking a milk pudding, place the dish in a tin of water in the oven. This prevents the pudding from burning or boiling over. Never baked a milk pudding. Well, I guess I have when I made my chocolate pie. I'm going to read this page and then we will probably stop for the day for this live. Temperature for baking, slow oven is 250 to 325. Moderate oven is 350 to 375. Hot oven is 4 to 400. 400 to 450. Very hot oven is 450 to 500 degrees. I've never cooked anything at 500 degrees. Donuts or small cakes can be sugared evenly by tossing in a paper bag with sugar. When baking fruit pies, cut holes in the upper crust with a thimble. Place crust on pie. The holes will become larger, then place the little round circles back in place. Make pies very decorative and serves for the steam and juice openings. For a nice meringue on pie, add 1 tablespoon of sugar to every egg white. Add a little cream of tartar and bake in a slow heat about 250 for about 15 minutes. Add plain gelatin to boiled icing to increase bulk and to make it stand in peaks and swirls. Dissolve the gelatin in 2 tablespoons of cold water and add to hot syrup before removing from the fire. Brush bottom crust of meat pie with the white of an egg to prevent the gravy soaking in. When making a cake, always add 2 tablespoons of boiling water to the butter and sugar mixture. This makes a fine texture cake. Make your 2 crust pies in the night before you need them. Put in the refrigerator overnight. In the morning, take up the refrigerator. Let pie warm to room temperature if in glassware so the glass won't break. Bake as usual. Yeah, you don't want your glass to break. Definitely for sure. To keep cookies fresh and crisp in the jar, place a crumpled tissue paper in the bottom. Creaming butter and sugar. In creaming butter and sugar for a cake, a little hot milk added will aid in the creaming process. Shortly before taking cupcakes from the oven, place a marshmallow on each for the frosting. Well, that's a unique idea. That would probably be ooey gooey. Oh, but good on top of cake. Try a little cream of tartar in your 7-minute icing. It will not get dry and crack. Flour should be sifted once before measuring. Fill the cup without packing, which I've heard of sifting in your flour before you bake it. Use it for baking. Well, that is where I am stopping. Hold on, wait a minute. So, I thought about, as far as it got, I ain't made a video yet of it. What is the best way to do savings? I'm doing a collab, ways to save. But how I go about saving for my holiday meal, like your Thanksgiving and your Christmas meal, and how I used to do it. Not going to do it. I don't know if, excuse me, I may do it this year. I'm not 100% on that. But that's just an idea. Give you guys some ideas for holidays. And I'm going to try to start making some holiday recipes on this channel. I'm going to dig out a lot of my cookbooks and, oh wait, I do have a lot. cookbooks. I've already filled one shelf. One shelf. For the most part, except for the bottom shelf, which is one of those little plastic shelving units, which I like to find a bookshelf, another bookshelf for that, or maybe I can get one of the bigger ones and put my empty jars on. I don't know. Anyway, I'll figure it out. So that is it for this live stream. So keep me making those things from scratch, and God bless.